Hey readers, so I realized that I actually somehow missed a part of chapter 10 when we were reading on Tuesday. So we'll go ahead and finish chapter 10 of Each Tiny Spark and then go right into chapter 11. I walked to the library with the mission to find out more about the 1996 Olympics in Atlanta, the year Don Carlos opened his store. I'm not sure if that information will be necessary for my project, but I think a good tour guide should know their history. Mrs. Liz tells me to go right ahead and start digging. And the microfilm machine is fixed. Change the fuse myself. Cool, Mrs. Liz, and thank you. I rotate the articles using the little knob on the right. The first one is about Centennial Olympic Park. I know that place. It's in downtown Atlanta. There's a cool fountain in the shape of the Olympic rings that kids can splash in. It's right next to the Georgia Aquarium and across from one of my favorite places, World of Coca-Cola. I learned some things about Centennial Park that I didn't know. It's one, that it's 21 acres. In order to raise money to build it, people could make donations by buying bricks that were laid as pavers for the park. For $35, people could write special messages engraved on the bricks. The article said that the committee raised over $17 million. I do the math in my head. That's almost 500,000 bricks, which is a lot of bricks to lay. I examined the black and white picture and read that there were tan and dark and red bricks lined up together in groups throughout the entire structure. The flags around the park represented all the countries that participated in the games. It's like Don Carlos's store aisles, only with way more countries. The next article about the Olympics is a recap of the opening ceremonies. It describes the impressive pyrotechnics show, which I think just means fireworks and stuff like that, and something Poppy would probably like. There was a fleet of Chevys on monster truck wheels that drove around the Olympic track. There's another article about Gloria Estefan singing a song called Reach at the closing ceremonies. Abuela loves Gloria Estefan. She calls her Gloria, like she knows her, but I'm pretty sure they never met. It's probably because they were both born in Cuba and came to the United States around the same time. I keep scrolling and come across an article about a woman named Sandra J. Gonzalez who was hired by the Olympic Committee to do Latino community outreach in Atlanta. She was a small business owner and Cuban immigrant who fought for immigrant and minority rights in Atlanta. There's even a park named after her. It's the first park named for a Latina in the state of Georgia. I wonder if Abuela knows about her. I take another reel and slide into the film in the machine. Each time, I read a little faster. My doctor tells me that I show signs of what she calls flow. It's like seeing a faraway planet I really like and thrusting into the Millennium Falcon into hyperdrive to get there. Basically, when I hone in on something I'm interested in, it's hard to distract me from it. I'm 110% in the flow right now. The next article I read is about how Mexicans were recruited to Georgia in the mid-90s to help finish construction for the Olympics. According to the article, immigration enforcement was suspended during this time to encourage workers to come to Georgia. I think about the almost 500,000 bricks. Then I think of Don Felix. He must have been one of the workers who came to help finish the job before the Olympics started. The article goes on to talk about the boom in immigration and how much of it can be traced back to this moment. I load another reel, which is dated pretty recently. Before I switch it out for an older one, something catches my eye. It's a story about immigration laws in Georgia, but it's about what's happening with them now. The laws are stricter and give local law enforcement the power to check the immigration status of people who can't provide identification when they're asked. The article talks about a man who was deported to Honduras because he didn't have immigration papers, even though he spent most of his life in Arizona and his kids were born there. Abuela and Mommy were both born in Cuba. What would happen if someone forced them to go back? What would happen to Poppy? Where would I end up? None of this seems fair. Who makes the rules about who gets to stay somewhere and who has to leave? My mind is a million stars blinking at once. I think about the Arizona man and his kids. Who's going to take them to school? Mr. Jackson walks his grandkids to Parkview Elementary every day, but his girls might have to move to Maryville. Even the decision of which school you go to isn't yours. I chew on the tip of my pen and tap, tap, tap it several times on the table. My face feels hot. You okay, Amelia? Mrs. Liz comes out from stacking books to check on me. I'd like to print this out, Mrs. Liz, I tell her, already looking for the print button. Sure thing, huh? I use tabloid-sized paper, the biggest library has, to get as much of the article as possible. I thank Mrs. Liz and grab my things. You bet, she says. My Maryville tourism guide suddenly has more questions than answers. Readers, I think it's really interesting that learning more about Don Carlos and how he came to America is giving her some ideas about topics to research, including immigration. So I'm interested to see where her research will go from here.